Part 36. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 351. Soon. The desert flying dragon that came over in droves was immediately left behind by Lu Shu. At their speed, it's almost impossible to catch up with Lu Shu plus the speed bonus of the white dragon horse. However, it continued flying for some distance. At this time, there are many desert poisonous insects underground. Attacked Lu Shu again. The surrounding desert dragons also attacked from all directions. One sword opens the sky. Lu Shu took a deep breath. The next second, a sword intent that destroyed the heaven and earth erupted from his body. The tip of the Xuxian sword shot out a sword light with a long rainbow penetrating the sun. At this moment, the world seemed to it will burst apart. A sword turned into a huge aftermath, sweeping around. The light of day swept across the desert in all directions, leaving countless deep ravines on the ground. Like abyss, they were all shattered by the sword light. All the desert poisonous insects and desert flying dragons that touched the sword light were turned into a piece of powder and disappeared. You killed the desert poisonous insect and obtained the immortal body X1. You killed the desert dragon and got immortal wings X1. You killed. Several prompts popped up in front of me. Many monsters, under Lu Shu's sword, didn't even have the ability to recover. He was instantly killed by the sword light. The pieces of meat that were shattered on the ground continued to make sizzling grilling sounds. The terrifying energy destroyed all the cells that could regenerate infinitely. The killing prompt that popped up in front of him allowed Lu Shu to obtain a large amount of item output and be able to fuse the monster legion. However, there were still many monsters that erupted far away from the center of the Xuxian sword and were scattered around, but they were not completely killed. At this moment, their bodies began to twist strangely, and every piece of meat was crawling towards the center. The next second, these pieces of meat slowly fit together. Reform a huge army. Lu Shu frowned slightly. This sword only killed 1/10 of the number. Don't look at this sword, there are many poisonous insects and flying dragons that can be killed instantly, but the number of these monsters is too much. And, a sword that opens the sky can only have the greatest power when it is in the center. Another part of the monsters scattered around the periphery were attacked by Lu Shu, but they did not die immediately and could recover. Although immortal monsters are not immortal in the true sense, their recovery abilities are too exaggerated. Even if the power is not enough, or if you give them a few more seconds, they can return to their uninjured appearance. It's really too difficult. I can't use this sword again right away. Moreover, even if you really need to use it, if you use it a few more times, it will be exhausted. I don't know if there are only these monsters in the desert. Lu Shu shook his head and gave up his plan to continue killing all the enemies with sword light. This consumes too much real energy. What's more, there are no enemies behind. There is also a city where the judgment refers. If just dealing with these peripheral monsters will consume all your strength, then how can you deal with the monsters further inside? Father, what should we do now? The judgment angel looked around and asked. At this time, she was not paying attention. Although she can see through the essence of everything in the world, she may not be able to find the best solution instantly. These poisonous insects are indeed a bit tricky. Get out of here first. Lu Shu rode a white dragon horse and killed him through the gap. The flying dragons and poisonous insects were cut into the sky by a sword, and the number of flying dragons and poisonous insects was reduced by 1/10. A huge space has been made. At this moment, the extremely tight encirclement, a hole was torn open. The white dragon horse continued to turn into a stream of light and flew away into the distance. Behind him, endless flying dragons and poisonous insects continued to be left behind until the trace completely disappeared. Flying some distance again, Lu Shu controlled the white dragon horse and suddenly stopped. The judgment angel noticed this strange behavior and asked, Father, What happened? Have you noticed that we are always the same distance away from that city? Lu Shu's deep eyes looked at the shadow in the distance. It's like a fake place, you can only see it, but you can't reach it. In other words, there is something blocking Lu Shu and Bai Longma from heading there. The Judgment Angel pondered for a moment, then shook his head helplessly. I can't sense what's going on there, maybe it's too far away. Too far away? Lu Shu pondered for a moment. It stands to reason. With the speed of the white dragon horse, after flying for such a long time, it should have reached its destination long ago. However, the spatial distance here has not changed at all. Bai Longma is proficient in the talents of the time and space series. However, in the domain of the god of illusion, the power related to time and space is not noticed. Judgment, please take a quick look at our distance to see if it changes as we move. Lu Shu suddenly said. Judgment was stunned for a moment. Then, her eyes, which could see through the essence of all things in the world, began to scan the surrounding environment. The white dragon horse continued to move forward. After a while, Judgment Angel's gaze as soon as he moved, he suddenly said in surprise. I know what the problem is. Lu Shu turned his head away. The Judgment Angel took a deep breath and explained, this place uses illusion space to shield our perception. In fact, we have been staying in one place, but we have never been able to get close to it. It seems like we are walking, but what the illusion changes is our perception of distant scenery. We feel as if we are moving forward, but in fact we are not, we are just spinning in circles. Lu Shu's eyes lit up slightly. So that's it? We've finally found a solution. No wonder we got rid of the flying dragon just now, but ended up re-entering the encirclement. Roar. At this moment, roars came from all directions again. The monsters in the desert were killing Lu Shu again. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 352. At this time, a group of snakes with wings appeared in the distant sky. They spit out long messages and followed the flying dragon to kill them. There are more than before. There is also a new kind of monster. At this time, a new monster panel popped up in front of Lu Shu. Category, Desert Flying Snake. Danger Factor, SSS+. Perception Range, 2,500 meters. Power, 17,300. Speed, 16,250. Defense, 11,420. Skills, Venomous Snake Fang, surrounded by Poison Cloud, Snake Xing Law. Description of the immortal body, they are desert flying snakes that were directly captured and raised by an emperor through the ages. After being refined by the immortal body, they can secrete extremely strong venom, and there is also quite a lot of venom. With its fast flying speed, its attack methods are extraordinary. There's even an extra kind of monster added. Lu Shu raised his eyebrows slightly. He had long expected that the monster would come to encircle him. Therefore, the white dragon horse suddenly accelerated its speed. It tore through the void in an instant. He planned to break out of the encirclement directly. At this moment, the desert flying snakes in the sky suddenly spit out the snake letter. I don't know what kind of magic power the snake letter has. It was instantly attracted to the bodies of Bai Longma and Lu Shu, and then produced a strong pulling force. The speed of the white dragon horse suddenly dropped to 1/10 of its original speed. Lu Shu's expression also changed accordingly. Warn. The desert flying snake is using snake's pull on you, and its speed is reduced to the original 10%. When the Judgment Angel saw this scene, he said solemnly, Father, this flying snake has the effect of being blessed by the god of illusion. Able to turn fantasy into reality. This snake letter is not an entity, but a product of the environment. But it will be connected to the divine realm. Essentially, it is not the flying snakes that are pulling us, but this divine realm that is pulling us. Lu Shu was slightly startled. That's right. The white dragon horse understands the way of time and space. If it is just a simple physical pull, it is impossible to reduce the white dragon horse, which has the ability to transcend time and space. What's more, the white dragon horse is a mythical creature. No matter what you say, you have to beat these flying snakes. Therefore, there is only one possibility: these flying snakes are not monsters, but products of this divine domain. Their abilities seem to be monster attacks, but in essence they are a defense mechanism of the divine realm. Lu Shu now understands a little bit. At this moment, he is not simply fighting monsters. He is fighting against the rules of the divine realm. If that's the case, then I won't be polite. Lu Shu snorted coldly and directly communicated with the origin of the world tree in his body. Since we have to fight with the original rules of creating the world, then, we might as well let this divine realm feel our true strength. The next second, a bright light. The sword light cut through the sky and the earth, illuminating the day. Use one sword to open the sky again. However, this sword is integrated with the world tree bred in Lu Shu's body, and its power is even greater. All the flying snakes, after being swept by the sword light, Snake Zinza was all cut into 2 pieces. Hiss. The flying snakes made extremely painful sounds. Even though their tongues will grow back after being cut off, the process is extremely painful. Just before they rolled over, a shocking sword light swept across the sky again. All around. At that moment, light seemed to illuminate the world. The endless flying dragons, flying shoots, and poisonous insects all seemed extremely small in the surging light like ocean waves. When the light gradually dissipated, the surrounding space suddenly became empty. Numerous kill prompts also popped up in front of Lu Shu's eyes. You killed the desert poisonous insect and obtained the immortal body X1. You killed the desert dragon and got immortal wings X1. You killed the desert flying snake and received the immortal snake letter X1. In the distance, pieces of meat were still crawling slowly. Although this sword did kill a lot of monsters, the materials in Lu Shu's warehouse are about to exceed 1 million. Although I don't know how many materials are needed after the fusion of these monsters, with such a large amount, I can upgrade almost all my monster legions into undead legions. When the time comes, these monsters go to the Grey World, and I am afraid that some players who are not strong enough will not be able to kill even one monster. It can be called a walking legendary copy. You know, in the current Grey World, there are not many sacred tree masters who can break through the nightmare level copy. Not to mention a legendary copy. If Lu Shu had not received the first kill reward last time, no one would have known that there was such a dungeon. If a walking legendary dungeon were created, it would make countless divine tree masters completely despair. Judgment, you watch the direction we are walking and remember not to take any more detours. Lu Shu turned to look at Judgment and solemnly instructed. Although Judgment cannot see the true appearance of things in the distance, but these nearby spaces can be controlled. As long as they make sure they are walking in a straight line, then from a certain place to a certain extent, you can ignore the barrier arranged by the god of illusion. Yes, Father. The Judgment Angel nodded. Compared to those little guys, his knowledge and analytical skills are quite reliable. Especially in this unknown field, he can stay by Lu Shu's side and act as a strategist next. Lu Shu followed this method and asked the judge to slowly determine the direction and distance. The towers in the distance were getting closer and closer unexpectedly. It works. Lu Shu's eyes lit up and he showed a slightly excited look. After being trapped by this rule for so long, he finally found a way to break through. As the city tower got closer and closer, the desert monsters around him also went crazy. Same, chasing after Lu Shu. Lu Shu could only secretly say that it was a pity. His spiritual power could not be immediately connected with the true form of the sacred tree island. If not, he could fuse these materials with the monster legion to create an immortal legion. Help yourself to resist these difficult guys. Since this method doesn't work, the only way is to be tough. The next second, Lu Shu used the immortal killing sword again and slashed at those monsters. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 353. Boom. A sword sacrifice. At this moment, all the monsters within the reach of the sword light were killed again. A series of killing prompts popped up in front of Lu Shu's eyes again. You killed the desert poisonous insect and obtained the immortal body X1. You killed the desert dragon and got immortal wings X1. You killed the desert flying snake and received the immortal snake letter X1. Directly in front, there was a huge gap, and he was killed. The bodies of desert flying dragons, desert flying snakes, and desert poisonous insects were scattered on the ground. The picture is terrible. The so-called encirclement, under the crushing force of absolute strength, has been broken through. Judgment, what's the direction now? Lu Shu looked around at the scene and asked immediately. From his perspective, the direction he was heading was exactly the tower in the distance. However, is the real direction of progress this direction? It's hard to say. Father, please walk to the right. The judgment angel examined it for a moment, and then immediately gave a direction. Good. Lu Shu no longer hesitated and turned into a stream of light and ran away in that direction. Something strange happened, the location of the tower continued to get closer and closer. In the past, this place could only be seen in the distance of the field of vision. But now, the tower is getting closer and closer to him. At this time, the judgment angel suddenly brightened his eyes and said, Father, I got the information about that place. Lu Shu was stunned. Got it so quickly? It should be because the distance is getting closer. The knowledge of the judgment angel must be close enough to obtain the information. Not long ago, the distance between the towers was it is still relatively far away. Therefore, the judgment angel cannot get the information immediately. But the distance is enough now. Therefore, I got the information from the tower. In the trial, you will tell all the information you have obtained. Lu Shu's eyes bloomed with light. His intuition told him, the origin of that tower was not that simple. The judgment angel took a deep breath and said, that's Lilin over there. Lilin. Yes, it is said that there is a mysterious kingdom between the kingdom of God and the mortal world, which connects the messengers in the sky and the creatures on the ground. But this country only exists in legends, and no one knows where it is. We all call this place Lilin. Lilin. Lu Shu recited this word silently in his mind. The kingdom between the divine realm and the mortal world, the origin of Lilin is too big. What kind of capable person is the eternal emperor? He can even get Lilin into a mirage. Lu Shu couldn't help but look at the ocean and sigh. At this moment, the judgment angel explained one more sentence. There is more than one place in this world where Lilin is. As long as the divine realm is connected to the mortal world, this name can be used. The Lilin obtained by the eternal emperor should only be part of it, not all of it. But Lilin is also part of the divine realm, and it is mysterious and unpredictable. There is no telling what will happen inside. Father, you need to be more careful next time. Lu Shu nodded. The trial is right. After all, Lilin is part of the God's domain. Everything in it is probably related to divinity. I don't even know if there are aborigines in the God's domain. If a battle breaks out, if the current level of world tree is too low. Lu Shu secretly sighed. If he could find a way to quickly improve the world tree, it would give him more confidence for subsequent explorations. However, in order to improve the world tree, What he needs is the original attributes. At present, he has not yet reached the state of harmony. You need to collect the remaining 2 Dao patterns as soon as possible, and then swallow enough fruits to quickly upgrade your realm to He Dao. Lu Shu has already felt that his own cultivation has caused a bottleneck in improving his strength. This feeling has never appeared in the past. However, now, since this feeling has appeared, Lu Shu's heart also rises. There was a full sense of urgency. Tip: the mythical realm, Lilin appears ahead. The risk factor here is extremely high. It is recommended that you have strength above the saint level before entering. Several prompts appeared in front of Lu Shu's eyes. With the appearance of these few paragraphs, Lilin is already close at hand. Is it saint level or above? Lu Shu's eyes moved. To be precise, his current strength is still at the semi-saint level. You can just rely on various abilities to achieve destructive power above the holy level. But it cannot be said to be a holy level in the true sense. However, Lu Shu has no way out now. The person leading to the phantom sound box space is Old Man Su. Now, Old Man Su has gone to who knows where. If he goes out from here, it will be difficult to come back in. Even if he wants to go out. Without Old Man Su, Lu Shu doesn't know how to go out for the time being. Just keep going. Lu Shu secretly thought in his heart. The desert monsters behind him once again turned into a sandstorm and swept over. Lu Shu had arrived at Lilin's territory. He turned around and stared at the dark shadow in front of him, his eyes unmoved at all. He pulled out the Zuxian sword from his waist. Big deal, one more strike. Boom. The sound of galloping in the distance was like being in the center of a tsunami, being struck by countless people. Swept up by the storm. But after a while, all the noise suddenly stopped. These monsters came to Lu Shu, but their movements stopped strangely. They happened to be stuck 10 meters away. It was also Lilin, the boundary of the domain. All the monsters stared at Lu Shu. To be precise, it was the piece of Lilin behind him. It seemed that there was some terrible and taboo existence inside, preventing the monsters from making the next move. Like. After a moment, crash. Tens of thousands of desert monsters retreated like a tide. They all seemed to have a common tacit understanding in their hearts. Lilin is a sacred and inviolable forbidden land. They will only stay in the outer realm and will never set foot inside. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 354. They all retreated. Lu Shu's heart moved slightly. Lilin is a land of gods, sacred and inviolable. These desert poisonous insects, desert flying dragons, are simply not worthy enough to step into this place. Even with SSS-level power, it is because of the Eternal the One Emperor applied the research results in the field of immortality to them to have such an ability. However, in fact, it is obvious from the results that the immortality technique of the Eternal One Emperor is definitely not pursuing the infinite recovery of life cells. Simple. These monsters have lost consciousness and mind, and can only rely on instinct to move, including Old Man Su. It is conceivable that the immortality developed by the Eternal Emperor must have to pay a huge price. If you want to gain eternal mobility, you will lose your will and soul as life. This is no different from killing yourself. Obviously it is not the immortality you are pursuing. After all, the desert monsters are just a group of experimental subjects who failed. The instinct makes these creatures fear Lilin and that sacred place. Father, these monsters cannot approach Lilin's territory. They are just responsible for guarding the periphery according to the rules of this divine domain and preventing others from easily entering Lilin. But as soon as we come to Lilin, they can't do anything to us. Judgment Angel explained. Well, let's enter Lilin. Lu Shu nodded. He looked towards Lilin in front of him. The magnificent city gate seemed like a giant standing in front of him. The mysterious country was blocked by a towering city wall. It was like a veil covering his true face. I don't know what it is like inside. Lu Shu walked forward. At this moment, two phantoms suddenly appeared at the door. A Gulan man who was 3 feet tall, wearing armor and with a majestic face, stood in front of Lu Shu and roared. "This is the important place of Lulan, no one cares, retreat quickly." Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly, and he felt that these two figures did not really exist. But they had good fighting abilities. A panel suddenly popped up in front of him. Lulan Warrior. Category, Tiangong Guard. Danger Factor, SSS+. Perception Range, 5,000 meters. Power, 27,300. Speed, 25,250. Defense, 24,420. Skills, Lulan Amplification, Fighting Will, All Weapon Mastery. Description: the warriors in Lulan have been powerful since ancient times. Fighting thoughts. They guard the connection between the divine realm and the mortal world, and any outside existence must pass their test. Father, they are very powerful. The Judgment Angel said solemnly. Lu Shu nodded. SSS-level, almost the domain of a semi-saint. Moreover, unlike the desert monsters outside, the Lulan warriors here, even though their attributes are only a little higher, they are the natives of the god's domain. Looking at the skill list, Lulan's increase is the most noteworthy thing. Lulan is the land of the gods. If you obtain the increase in the divine realm, you will already be out of touch with the mortal world. Not that easy to deal with. Judgment, you watch from behind first. I'm going to fight them. Lu Shu said. Judgment nodded, knowing that his strength was too weak. If 100 Judgment Angels came over, it would be okay, and he could use the Judgment Domain. But in order to control the battle damage, Lu Shu only let one Judgment Angel come here and act as your own military. The power of a single Judgment Angel is a bit insufficient in this kind of land of God. You know. Even the two guards at the door have reached the level of semi-saints. One can imagine what a terrifying place Lulan would be. Lu Shu's body erupted with an aura. The next second, his body showed the aura of the world tree. The immortal killing sword behind him had also appeared. Scabbard. When encountering a strong enemy, the sword god template suddenly burst into a very high state, and the sword soul was also attached to the Zuxian sword. The tip of the Zuxian sword trembled slightly, as if eager for a hearty battle next. Turns out to be a demigod, no, a pseudo-god level figure. The two Lulan warriors suddenly shouted softly. They looked at Lu Shu with a little more caution. No, you are not a demigod or a false god. The realm is not yet Hedeo, but it has condensed its origin. Could it be that he is the Holy Son from heaven? Holy Son? Lu Shu frowned slightly. These two Lulan warriors should have felt the aura on their bodies and regarded him as a similar person in the heavenly palace. Thinking of this, Lu Shu immediately tried to use this identity and said coldly, "Road. I have something to do when I enter Lulan. Please retreat as quickly as possible." The eyes of the two Lulan soldiers showed doubts. They looked behind Lu Shu, feeling even more strange. Why did the envoy from the kingdom of God come with him? Aren't the kingdom of God and the heavenly palace always at odds with each other? Why are you following someone who is suspected of being the son of God? All kinds of doubts lingered in the hearts of the Lulan warriors. The two men looked at each other, but then quickly shook their heads and said, "Sorry, even if you are the holy son of heavenly palace, we cannot let you go forward without a pass." Pass. Lu Shu suddenly thought that after killing Emperor Cao, he seemed to have obtained a key to the heavenly palace. Could it be that this key is the pass to the divine realm? Lu Shu thought. A gold-plated key, exuding a faint divine radiance, appeared in his hand. He shook the Tiangong key. Lu Shu shouted and asked, "Is this the pass you are talking about?" The Lilan warrior was stunned. What he took out from the opponent's hand was indeed a pass. But, there seemed to be something hidden. The Lilan warrior still shook his head. "Although what you took out is indeed a pass. But the level is still not enough. Even if you take out a pass with sufficient qualifications, we are ordered to guard this place. No one is allowed to enter Lilan without his permission. Even if the Holy Son of Heavenly Palace comes in person, it will be the same." Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 355. It seems that these 2 Lilan warriors have specially guarded this place under the orders of the Eternal Emperor. Lu Shu has already made a judgment in his heart. In this case, even if the other party really thinks that he is the Holy Son, he will not let him go easily. "Then let's fight." As soon as he finished speaking, the Zuxian sword in Lu Shu's hand turned into an afterimage and was slashed away. What a fast sword! The eyes of the 2 Lilan warriors showed a hint of shock. They knew that Lu Shu's strength must be quite good, but they didn't expect that he could be so powerful. Hey! The Lilan warrior's body emitted a burst of golden light. Under the blessing of the domain, the 2 people turned into a little golden man. Lu Shu struck Jin with his sword, making a clanking sound. Is it the blessing of the field? The sword was knocked away, and Lu Shu frowned slightly. With the blessing of the domain, the Lilan warrior's defense was extremely high. After this sword strike, he relied on the purest defense ability to resist Lu Shu's attack. As an artifact with immunity, the Zuxian sword is naturally 100% powerful and can hurt the opponent. But the Lilan warriors successfully resisted this sword, which only shows that their own strength is extremely powerful and they can shake it head on. Lu Shu's full blow. Sword Master, these 2 people are difficult to deal with. The sword soul turned into a phantom, floating next to Lu Shu. Lu Shu nodded, his eyes a little solemn. "A fierce battle is inevitable." The 2 Lilan warriors said solemnly, "Your Excellency, your military power is indeed extraordinary. But with Lilan's blessing, you will never be able to defeat us." "Is it?" Lu Shu smiled. "That's not necessarily the case." The words fell. The realm of reincarnation unfolded. The endless reincarnation turned into shadows and surrounded the 2 Lilan warriors. What a powerful illusion aura! His attainments in this field seem to be no worse than the god of illusion. Why does this person have such a strong cultivation level when he is so young? The Lilan warriors' eyes were horrified. The next second, the realm of reincarnation was unleashed. They seemed to have fallen into endless reincarnation, and every move seemed like they were stuck in a quagmire. Their movements were stiff and slow. Lu Shu struck down with his sword again. Boom! Lilan the warrior had to rely on his own defense to resist. The state of the golden body could only last for 1 or 2 seconds, not for too long. The hegemony of such an object must consume a lot of energy. With the blessing of Lilan domain, Lilan warriors can use this hegemonic body to avoid most damage, but that doesn't mean it can be turned on all the time. After Lu Shu turned on the reincarnation field, both their reaction speed and action ability were greatly reduced. This is still thanks to Lilan amplification. We can resist Lu Shu's realm of reincarnation. If not, I'm afraid he would have been deeply trapped in reincarnation and unable to extricate himself. Boom! Another sword strike. The figure of the Lilan warrior flew upside down. Get out! His body hit the wall hard, and he couldn't help coughing up blood. Another Lilan soldier, seeing his accomplice suffered such a blow, almost lost the ability to resist, knowing that if he continued like this, he was about to lose. A look of perseverance suddenly flashed across his face, and then he made up his mind and bit the tip of his tongue with his teeth. A trace of blood flowed from his lips. The Lilan warrior's eyes suddenly bloomed with a golden light. Mang! The next second, the aura on his body suddenly increased a lot. Warn. The Lilan warriors used the Lilan blood pressure technique, and their overall strength was at 400%. The strength increased instantly. The Lilan warrior suddenly felt his body relax. The realm of reincarnation entangled around him. As his body struggled several times, he successfully got rid of its shackles. The next moment, his figure quickly rushed towards Lu Shu. Lu Shu snorted coldly, and then swung his sword with his backhand again. Clang! There was a sound of iron weapons clashing together, and the reverberating sound was like a loud bell. If ordinary people stood here, their ears would be deafened. The Lilan violent blood technique was used. The aura in the Lilan warrior's body has risen a lot. Reached the true semi-saint realm. With the blessing of Lilan amplification, this aura is stronger than imagined. The duration of the violent blood spell is limited, which means that Lilan warriors must quickly resolve the battle in a short period of time. He was like crazy and launched a crazy attack on Lu Shu. The fire that erupted from the tip of the gun was like a hail of bullets, and endless shadows swept over one after another. 5 elements pattern. Lu Shu slapped the ground with his right hand in the next second. Boom! The terrain under his feet suddenly changed. The ground of the Lilan warriors sunk. Cracks cracked and opened on the ground. The cracked land was like walking. The earth dragon kept entangling towards the Lilan warrior and quickly sent Lu Shu to another Lilan warrior. Not good. The Lilan warrior secretly exclaimed. Seeing that another of his companions was about to be killed, his eyes turned red. He bit his lip again. The second violent blood spell. Warn. The Lilan warrior once again overdraws his life breath and uses the blood-bursting technique, increasing his strength by 200%. This 200% is an increase from the original 400%. It's already the limit. No matter how powerful the saint-level power is, it will burst the body of the Lilan warrior. With his current status, he simply cannot control such a huge and terrifying power. However, even if it reaches the limit, the Lilan warrior at this moment is infinitely close to the holy level. The influence of the field on him has become extremely weak. The next moment, his figure passed by like an afterimage and rushed towards Lu Shu. The violent wind and fire summoned by the 5 elements Taoist patterns hit his body without any impact at all. It's a pity. Even so, he was still a step too late. Lu Shu's swordsmanship is faster. That sword had already passed through the neck of another accomplice. The sharpness and killing power of the Zuxian sword, as well as the ability to seal one's throat with one sword, would not be able to withstand even a god, let alone a mere Lilan warrior. Now, a prompt popped up in front of Lu Shu. Congratulations on killing the Lilan warrior and getting Lilan Soul X1. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 356. Soul of Lilan, a consumable item. When you use the Soul of Lilan, you can become a Lilan warrior and gain 100% breath. Duration, 3 days. After Lu Shu killed the Lilan warriors, he was stunned when he saw consumables dropped here. In the distance, the Lilan warrior saw his accomplice being killed. His eyes became extremely red. The aura on his body also became violent. Lu Shu possesses the immortal mark, so even if he is hit from the front, he will not die immediately. As long as he can survive the violent period of the Lilan warriors, he will quickly lose a lot of combat power due to the sharp decline in his life level, and will be defeated by Lu Shu. However, Lu Shu felt something was wrong. Logically speaking, Lilan soldiers are just guards guarding the door. Where do they have the opportunity to create such deep feelings for each other? There seems to be some clues here. The madness of the Lilan warriors made Lu Shu feel that something was wrong. Which normal soldier is not used to death? if a brother next to him dies and starts such an extreme crazy mode, he doesn't look like a battle-hardened warrior at all. In any battle, you need to maintain absolute calmness in order to defeat your opponent. Lulin's failed move made Lu Shu feel a little instinctive abnormality. Try it. Lu Shu's heart suddenly moved. The next second, a prompt popped up in front of him. Whether to use Soul of Lulin. Yes. A flash of white light. Lu Shu's whole body suddenly turned into the look of the Lulin warrior just now. The Lulin warrior who rushed over suddenly froze. The killing intent in him suddenly disappeared. Now, the look he looked at Lu Shu was no different from the way he looked at his previous comrades. It's like that crazy look just now was just an illusion. The violent state of Lulin warriors has been lifted and they have entered a weakened state. All attributes have been reduced to 10% of their original value. Within 7 days, you cannot use the bloodshot technique again. When this text appeared, Lu Shu decisively chopped it out. That Lulin soldier didn't even have the slightest precaution, and was killed by Lu Shu's sword. Before he died, he stared at Lu Shu, as if he didn't understand. Why did his teammates take action against him? You killed the Lulin warrior and got Soul of Lulin X1. Sure enough. Lu Shu showed an expression of sudden realization. No wonder the Lulin warriors acted so crazy. It turns out that all this is a mechanism. The emotions shown by the Lulin warriors are actually all fake. As long as an accomplice is killed around him, then Lulin warriors will trigger the rule mechanism and use Lulin blood pressure technique, showing very crazy emotions. The enemies here seem to have human thinking abilities, but in fact they still operate according to the rules. They do not really possess human beings. Emotions. It just simulates behavior patterns similar to humans. The Judgment Angel came to Lu Shu's side in confusion. Looking at the 2 corpses of Lulin warriors at his feet, he couldn't help but ask. Father, why did the Lulin warriors suddenly stop just now? Although the Judgment Angel can clearly see the essence of all things, but it cannot see through all the laws. If this is the case, the amount of information in the various rule settings of this world can be overwhelming. The brain capacity of living beings. Most of what the Angel of Judgment can see through is still false, but there are still some shortcomings that cannot be realized. Lu Shu explained, actually, these Lulin warriors are all rules created in the divine domain. They will only operate according to the rules, simulating combat, human emotions, and mechanisms such as touching blood. But as long as I kill a Lulin warrior, I can get the Soul of Lulin and become like them. According to Lulin's mechanism, as long as I use the Soul of Lulin, it is equivalent to invading and becoming one of them. This is quite dangerous for Lulin. Therefore, under this mechanism, the Lulin warriors want to kill me even if they give up their own lives. But after I used Soul of Lulin, his intention to attack me completely disappeared, and the bloodshot technique would also end instantly. As long as one Lulin warrior is eliminated, theoretically speaking, the other Lulin aborigines need not be taken seriously. The Judgment Angel's eyes lit up. It turns out that there is such a rule in it. No wonder the Lulin warriors suddenly stopped attacking Lu Shu. They are just the products of the rules, not real life. They seem to be very powerful, but rather than saying it is the strength of the Lulin warriors, it is better to say that this is the defense rule mechanism that exists in the divine domain itself. As expected of his father, he saw a way to break through so quickly. The Judgment Angel admired from the bottom of her heart. She thought that she could see through the essence of all things, and her intelligence was already very high. However, for a more in-depth exploration of the rules, it seemed a little inadequate. Lu Shu smiled and said any thinking mode will have corresponding pros and cons. If people can really take everything into consideration, obtain all information, and know everything, then there is no difference between him and God. The Judgment Angel nodded, convinced. In fact, even God may not be truly omniscient and omnipotent. Judgment, you swallow this Soul of Lulin. Next, we will look like Lilan warriors, and we should be able to easily blend into Lilan. Lu Shu thought, and another Lilan soul fell from the Lilan warrior, just like the same one. Heart made of pure white crystal. Handed in front of the Judgment Angel. The two Lilan warriors just now recognized the identity of the Judgment Angel from the Kingdom of God, and revealed a very key piece of information: the Kingdom of God and the Heavenly Palace are incompatible. This means that in the next actions, the identity of the Judgment Angel must not be easily exposed. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 357. Prerequisites for entering the city of Lilan. 1. Key to Heavenly Palace. 2. Lilan's identity. Test: you have passed all the conditions and can enter Lilan city. As an interface appeared in front of Lu Shu's eyes. When he stepped into Lilan city gate, a transparent light curtain swept over Lu Shu's body. If he did not use Soul of Lilan at this time, his identity would be detected as inconsistent and Lilan's alarm device would be triggered. At the gate of the city, a row of Lilan soldiers are patrolling here. Father, there are so many warriors here. The Judgment Angel was slightly shocked. Not long ago, the battle between Lu Shu and the Lilan warriors left a deep impact on her. It was a semi-saint level battle. Even infinitely close to the saint level. Judgment Angel's current level is still at the SSS level, it is still the domain of the mortal world, but Lu Shu and the Lilan warriors have shown strength that is almost above that of the mortal world, and the scale of their battles is simply shocking. Good. Lu Shu nodded and said through a message: when you get here, you should have truly entered Lilan. The rules of the divine domain are everywhere. Next, we must be extremely careful in our actions. Moreover, as for your identity from the Kingdom of God, try not to let anyone here discover it, otherwise it will bring unimaginable consequences. The Judgment Angel nodded immediately. Now, whatever Lu Shu said, she would strictly abide by it. After the battle just now, the Judgment Angel already admired and respected Lu Shu from the bottom of his heart. At this time, a soldier next to him shouted, "You two, what are you still doing standing there? Hurry up and join the team." The soldiers coming and going around have gathered into a formation. Among so many people, only Lu Shu and Judgment Angel stood in the open space. It seems a bit abrupt. Father, he seemed to be talking about us. Judgment Angel whispered. It should be the rule in Lilan. Let's follow the big army first. Lu Shu's eyes moved, and he immediately pulled Judgment and entered the team of soldiers. Seeing these two soldiers entering the team, the Lilan soldier who shouted put away his eyes, and then led the team towards the other one. He explored the direction. At this moment, Lu Shu looked at the general walking at the front and narrowed his eyes. A monster panel popped up in front of him. Lilan General. Category: Heavenly Palace Guard. Danger Factor: Semi-Saint. Perception Range: 10,000 meters. Power: 37,300. Speed: 35,250. Defense: 33,420. Skills: Lilan Amplification, Fighting Will, All Weapon Proficiency, Commanding 10,000 Arms. Description: some of the outstanding warriors in Lilan will be selected as the general to lead the army and lead the soldiers in Lilan. Command the armies. Lu Shu immediately noticed that the Lilan generals had a very crucial skill more than the Lilan warriors. This skill allows all Lilan warriors to obey the general's command and arrangements. His attributes and personality are also much higher than other Lilan warriors. If you can kill Lilan Advent once, maybe the next actions will be much easier. Lu Shu thought secretly. There were too many Lilan warriors around him. They were lined up in rows. At a glance, they could see that the number was no less than 5,000. It was obviously unwise to take action at this time. We must find them. It would take a suitable opportunity. Lu Shu would stand with the Judgment Angel and blend in with the team first. As for the duration, there is not much of a problem. Soul of Lilin can last for 3 days. As long as you find a way to assassinate a Lilin warrior in the corner before it expires, you can continue to maintain it. The question is, how to kill General Lilin. If he could get a consumable product like the General's heart and become a Lilin general, Lu Shu's range of activities in Lilin would become much larger. For now, it is better to follow these warriors, wait and see Lilin's situation, and look for a suitable opportunity. During the following period, Lu Shu has been following the patrol. The mission seems to be very simple. Just follow a deng and inspect everything in Lilin. If any abnormality is found, troops can be dispatched quickly. In fact, he is no different from a patrol officer. The only advantage is, by joining this team, you can observe the general situation of Lilin. After wandering around for a while, Lu Shu already roughly knew what the distribution of Lilin was like. The center is the core area of Lilin. The generals stationed there are usually Lilin generals. It is said that there is also a higher level Lord Lilin. I don't know if he has appeared here. There are observation towers everywhere, where you can see everything in Lilin. Lilin's watch soldiers are stationed here, which is equivalent to a surveillance unit. Every place is heavily guarded by Lilin troops. If you want to pass through Lilin, you must have an imperial order. However, I don't know where this imperial order is. Lu Shu frowned slightly. At this time, he suddenly saw a sneaky figure in the distance, sneaking in here. That figure was wearing tattered clothes, and among the Lilin warriors wearing armor and looking majestic, he was even more conspicuous than a stranger. Lu Shu recognized the other party at first sight. Old Man Su. This guy actually appears here? Lu Shu couldn't help but be stunned. Speaking of which, Old Man Su was never seen in the peripheral areas. Could it be that he teleported himself directly here? The surrounding Lilin soldiers walked past Old Man Su in groups. However, no one even glanced at Old Man Su. It's as if that person standing here is like air. Went over easily. This guy does have quite a secret. Lu Shu's eyes narrowed slightly. Old Man Su was able to make these Lilin warriors not react at all, which was a bit beyond Lu Shu's expectations. It seems Lilin this time may not be as simple as imagined. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 358. The Judgment Angel's eyes moved and he obviously noticed Old Man Su. Father, that person seems to belong here. He is specially allowed to walk freely and has extremely high authority. Should we arrest him again? If we let him act alone, it might be very detrimental to us. Permission. Lu Shu's heart moved. Obviously, Old Man Su's identity is too big in Mirage. Even if he comes to Lilin in the core area, he is still a person who is allowed to walk freely. Therefore, crazy Old Man Su, no matter how even the Lilin soldiers will not stop this action. This has many disadvantages for Lu Shu. Fortunately, Old Man Su has not regained all consciousness yet. Lu Shu's eyes moved and he noticed that Old Man Su was rushing in a certain direction crazily. He had obviously not yet regained consciousness. But after arriving at the Mirage, it seemed that he had some unfulfilled wishes, and that instinct was driving him to complete things that he had never done before. Soon, Old Man Su's figure turned a corner and disappeared from Lu Shu's eyes. However, before the other party left, Lu Shu had quietly left a spiritual imprint on Old Man Su's body. Thus, no matter where Old Man Su goes, he will be noticed by his spiritual power. This guy's actions made Lu Shu feel that he was well prepared. Maybe, if you follow Old Man Su, something unexpected will happen. Now we need to find an opportunity to escape as soon as possible. Judgment, please pay attention to the timing of your action. When we have the chance, try to get rid of the leading soldier. Lu Shu signaled General Lilin with his eyes. The judge immediately understood what Lu Shu meant and nodded quickly. Don't worry, I've found a great opportunity. Lilin is just like the normal world. Have day and night. It is completely different from the chaotic attributes of the gray world. This place is like a more sacred island of sacred trees, with a quiet and harmonious natural environment. When night fell, General Lilin looked around at his soldiers, with a slightly satisfied look on his face, and praised. You all performed well today. Now, you can go back and rest. There will be other soldiers to replace your squad. After a tiring day, the Lilin soldiers returned to their camps one after another. Soon, only General Lilin, Judgment, and Lu Shu were left in the huge field. At this moment, General Lilin seemed to notice the two soldiers. Abnormal, he immediately came over and asked with a stern face, "Why are you two still here?" "General, while we were patrolling during the day, we noticed something wrong." Lu Shu walked to General Lilin and whispered a few words. "Are you saying that some suspected intruders were found here?" General Lilin's expression changed. "General, we just noticed a similar aura and saw some traces. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" He entered a more advanced territory, and his subordinates did not have the authority to enter there. What's more, the subordinates were not sure whether it was an intruder or not, but they just saw a suspicious figure. Lu Shu continued in a vague tone, "General, if you want to know more, please ask your subordinates to take you to find it." General Lilin nodded. "Hurry up and lead the way, don't let anything go wrong." Under the leadership of Lu Shu, the three people came to a desolate place. Many scattered buildings collapsed here. In the distance, there was an abandoned tower. The height of the building was very high, and it could just block the watchtower from here. Sight. Did the suspicious person you mentioned appear here? General Lilin was a little confused. When they patrolled during the day, they didn't seem to be in this place. Did they see any suspicious characters? Just when General Lilin was about to turn his head, a sword suddenly sealed his throat. It was only then that General Lilin realized something was wrong. However, it was too late. Lu Shu did not give the opponent any chance at all. After sealing the throat with a sword, he was instantly pulled into his own realm of reincarnation and sealed tightly. "Get up." Judgment was also there to help exert mental pressure. He was fatally injured. Although General Lilin did not die immediately, with his strong vitality and willpower, he was still fighting tenaciously. However, the vital part was struck by the Zuxian sword. It was difficult for him to exert even 1% of his strength, and he was restrained by Lu Shu's reincarnation domain. In the end, there was an unwilling struggle. General Lilin finally lost his last breath. "You killed Lilin General and obtained Lilin General Order X1. Lilin General's Order. With this order, you will obtain the status of Lilin General, and in the form of Lilin Warrior, unlock the skill of Command the 10,000 Arms. Judgment, this place you chose is really good." Lu Shu said with a smile. "This place happens to be the blind spot of Lilin Observatory. As long as the Lilin generals are executed here, and then take on a new identity, almost no one will doubt what happened here. Are we going to find Mr. Su next?" the Judgment Angel asked with concern. She was very concerned about Old Man Su's movements. This worry is not unreasonable. Old Man Su's authority is too high, so high that he can even move around in Lilin. If you let such a person go, in Lilin activities here are not particularly safe for Lu Shu and Judgment Angel. "Don't worry, this guy's location has been marked by me." Lu Shu narrowed his eyes. However, next, he still has to play the role of General Lilin. Lilin's rules are very strict. If there is a problem in one link, then it is very likely that Lilin's alarm device will be triggered. At that time, the situation will only be more dangerous. Lu Shu returned to the team with the Judgment Angel among them. New warriors have come to take over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 359. However, Lu Shu quickly took advantage of his newly acquired identity and ordered. You should form a queue immediately and step up patrols nearby. Something has happened in Lulan recently. The general has some things to deal with temporarily. Come here. Next, you are responsible for leading the team and patrolling along the original route until the general comes back after finishing his work. Understand? The Lulan soldier who was called showed a flattered expression. It seemed that he had temporarily gained the ability to lead the army, which was a great honor for him. My subordinates will definitely live up to the general's mission. The Lulan soldier said with excitement. This is a good opportunity to earn military merit. If he accumulates enough military merit, one day, he can also become a proud Lulan general. Lu Shu nodded casually. Then, he pointed to the judge in the team and several other soldiers in the team. Come with me. Then, a group of people, led by Lu Shu, left the team and hurried over to where Old Man Su was. You killed the Lulan warrior and got Lulan Soul X1. You killed the Lulan warrior and got Lulan Soul X1. You killed the Lulan warrior and got Lulan Soul X1. In front of Lu Shu, several kill prompts appeared in succession. In the warehouse, the soul of Lulan that had been used up before is now in stock again. Judgment, those of you are with you. These souls of Lulan should be enough for further exploration. Lu Shu took out a few Lulan souls and handed them to the Judgment Angel. Judgment nodded, but then he was a little confused. Father, don't we call out a few more soldiers? No need. Lu Shu shook his head. First of all, if we, as generals, kill too many Lulan warriors, we may attract the attention of the gods. Secondly, there is only 1 week left for the Grey Realm invasion. A single soul of Lulan lasts for 3 days. After the effect ends, we will all return to the Sacred Tree Island. Grey World invasion? Sacred Tree Island station? The Judgment Angel was stunned. I haven't heard of these words before. You will know then. Lu Shu noticed the doubtful look on the Judgment Angel's face, and suddenly remembered that this guy was born not long ago. He has never even participated in the Divine Tree Island station. He is not the old fools like Pikachu and Little White Fox. No wonder. The Judgment Angel, his performance is so smart. Following Lu Shu is like the relationship between Liu Bei and Zhuge Yang. I almost forgot that this guy was just born. Okay, let's go there quickly. After disposing of the corpses of these Lulan soldiers, Lu Shu immediately took the Judgment Angel and rushed towards Old Man Su's position. In order not to attract the attention of the guys at the observation deck, Lu Shu specially found a remote blind spot to execute. It took a lot of time to capture these Lulan warriors. If we don't rush over, Old Man Su's shadow may be lost. Once here, Lu Shu didn't dare to summon the White Dragon Horse easily anymore, worried that it would cause the attention of other Lulan warriors. What's more, the White Dragon Horse is a mythical creature. It may have a different aura on it, which is easily detected by Lulan. When Lu Shu walks, he must also consider the speed of the trial and the height of the observation tower. Monitoring soldiers. So, don't walk too fast. It took a while. Under the cover of night, 2 figures came outside the central city. The security here is a bit tight. Judgment said from the side. At this moment, 2 generals came to Lu Shu, frowned and asked, this place is a central forbidden area, and no one is allowed to enter at will. I want to go in and investigate the situation. Lu Shu took out the general token from his waist. The 2 generals looked at each other, frowned and asked, what's going on? There seems to be an intruder in Lilan recently. I'll take one of my subordinates and go in to be more vigilant. If things are delayed, are you responsible? Lu Shu's voice became a little louder. The two generals froze. This sentence seemed to have a deterrent effect on them. The two of them looked at Judgment, showing hesitation. This is my accompanying person. If I go on an exploratory mission alone, my eyes may not be able to see what's going on behind the scenes. Could it be that you want to carry out this mission with me? Lu Shu asked back. At this point, the two Lilan generals said nothing more. They seemed to be afraid of taking responsibility, and what Lu Shu said was indeed very reasonable. As Lilan generals, these two people also have their respective tasks must be completed. It's impossible for two generals to go on a reconnaissance mission together, right? You know, the position of Lilan general is quite rare, and it is equivalent to the top management in Lilan. It costs two generals strength to carry out exploration tasks, is really overkill and not a reasonable allocation of resources. Go in. The two Lilan generals finally stopped saying anything and moved out of the way, allowing Lu Shu and Judgment Angel to pass. Bypassing this row of heavily guarded soldiers, we arrived at the core of Lilan Center. At this time, the Judgment Angel was slightly relieved. When he looked at Lu Shu, his admiration became even stronger. Father, you are too strong. He actually convinced them. The Judgment Angel said from the bottom of his heart. You must know that these Lilan generals do not actually have the logic of normal people. They are products of the rules of the divine domain. However, Lu Shu answered them fluently. This made the Judgment Angel have to admire. How on earth is it done? Lu Shu smiled and said, actually, as long as you carefully observe their patterns, you will find that each general has different responsibilities and simulates human activities. As long as you know this, you are equivalent to grasping their rules. Hearing this, the Judgment Angel's face became even more respectful. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 360. Hear the words. The face of the Judgment Angel is even more respectful. Like a devout student, listening to Lu Shu's teachings. What are you here for? At this moment, a cold voice came from behind the two of them. Lu Shu looked back. At some point, a scholar who was over 70 years old and wearing white robes appeared behind Lu Shu like a ghost. He was holding a book in his hand. At the same time, a panel immediately popped up in front of Lu Shu. Lilan archaeologist. Category, Tiangong scholar. Danger factor, semi-saint. Perception range, 20,000 meters. Power, 37,300. Speed, 35,250. Defense, 34,420. Skills, Lilan amplification, ancient civilization mastery, historical gap, Lilan wool. Description, there are many in Lilan scholars with high status, mainly archaeologists, specialize in digging up the history of Lilan's disappearance. They have incredible divinity and can obtain various disappearing powers from the gaps in history and transform them into incredible attack methods. When this man came over, I didn't even notice his presence. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. He realized that this Lilan archaeologist is not an easy character to deal with. Judging from the panel alone, his strength has reached that of a semi-saint. He is no less than himself. He can still evade his spirit. With powerful exploration, he came up behind him silently. It was a very dangerous mission. Judgment was obviously surprised by the appearance of this man. Don't panic. At this time, Lu Shu's voice appeared in her ears. The gentle words were like a bathing spring breeze, sweeping away all the panic in the Judgment Angel's heart. If there were too many emotional fluctuations, Lilan archaeologists might not be able to spot the clues. After all, the other party is a semi-saint level powerhouse. No matter what, he cannot be underestimated. Faced with this problem, Lu Shu's brain was running fast, and he quickly thought of a way to deal with it. We came here to investigate and confirm that there are no traces of intruders here. Intruder? Yes, one of my subordinates told me that there seemed to be an intruder in Lilan recently. Since I am the general of Lilan, I should take better precautions to prevent any mistakes in Lilan. What Lu Shu said was so categorical. His heart didn't even beat a beat. When the judgment angels heard the righteous tone of these words, they were a little curious about how Lu Shu was able to say these words without blushing. You said it out loud. Aren't you the intruder yourself? And what the hell is this look of duty bound to restore Lilan's glory? Even the movie stars can't do this, right? Lilan archaeologists also seem to like this. He hesitated, then nodded. In that case, just go and review it. As soon as he finished speaking, the Lilan archaeologist turned around and walked towards the library. Bang! There was a sound of closing the door from behind the dark attic. The Lilan archaeologist entered the library, and there was no doubt that he was reading. It's hard to say. Imagine, the people in Lilan are actually products of the rules created by the gods, but they have living habits that are so similar to human society. When the Lilan archaeologists left, Father, Lilan archaeologists are the brains of God's domain. These words you said were actually able to be hidden from even him. Is this too strong? The judgment angel suddenly took a deep breath and looked at Lu Shu with eyes filled with admiration. The brain of the divine realm. Judgment, tell me, is there any difference between this Lilan archaeologist and other Lilan warriors and commanders? Some. The judgment angel organized some words, and then explained the Lilan archaeologists have the independent brain thinking ability of the god's domain. Simply put, he has higher authority than General Lilan. If there is a problem with the system of God's domain, the mechanical actions led by Lilan will not be able to meet the needs of maintaining Lilan. At this time, Lilan archaeologists will come forward to seize command, and then take over the command of Lilan. However, Lilan archaeologists usually only study in Lilan's bookstore, and generally do not interfere with the actions of Lilan generals. If Lilan really suffered a devastating blow, then, there is a high probability that the person who will come forward is not the Lilan archaeologist, but the highest owner of Lilan. When Lu Shu heard these words, he showed a thoughtful expression. In other words, if Lilan is in crisis, Lilan archaeologists are equivalent to an intermediate transition between the leader of Lilan and the highest level figure in Lilan. He is very powerful, but he will not easily intervene in Lilan's affairs, and he has enough thinking ability. Thinking of this, Lu Shu sent a message to the judgment angel and said, perhaps, we have a chance to kill the Lilan archaeologists once. If we seize the items with higher permissions can be used by you. The judgment angel nodded quickly. That's right. The current judgment angel is still a small soldier. Lu Shu needs to use his identity as General Lilan and in the name of following his subordinates to complete the mission, so that the judgment angel can legitimately follow him, so that he will not suffer any consequences. Other commanders in Lilan, as well as Lilan archaeologists, are suspicious. But if you can obtain the higher level identity of Lilan archaeologists, then the identity of the judgment angel will be less likely to be exposed. After all, Lilan archaeologists have higher authority. Moreover, his usual task is to go to the library to read. In addition, he may also wander around. If he can obtain this level of identity, then Lu Shu and the Angel of Judgment, next in Lilan action will gain a higher degree of freedom and become easier. Etc. Old Man Su is over there. Lu Shu's eyes suddenly moved and he realized that Old Man Su was upstairs. Judgment, follow immediately. Lu Shu said through the message. The two of them immediately walked up the stairs quickly. When they reached the second floor, Old Man Su suddenly passed through the door guarded by the two commanders.